Number 10. MEMNON. We're kicking this list off with one of the greatest warriors ever. MEMNON was said to be an immortal warrior from Greek mythology who was one of the best warriors in the land, second only to the great Achilles. He's an Ethiopian king and really the most prevalent African figure in all of Greek mythos. It's said that he was killed by the only man who was a better warrior than him, Achilles, who might have also been immortal. Maybe it was like South Park rules, it takes an immortal to kill an immortal. Number 9. Merlin. We all know Merlin. He's one of the most famous characters from English myth. Being the guy who helped King Arthur, it must be easy to become king when you have a wizard in your back pocket. But what if he isn't myth? What if the character is real and is still walking around to this day? There's evidence of characters like Merlin or Merlin himself popping up again and again through English history. Some people believe that he's still alive and still protecting the royal family. Maybe if he's still alive, he should retire from protecting some of the richest people in the world and help out the rest of us. Why not cast a spell that gives me a good night's sleep for once? Number 8. Hercules. One of the buffest dudes in history. If you don't know the story of Hercules, he was basically a demigod and he wanted to be a god. And the gods told him, if you want to be a god, you gotta show everyone how much of a stud you are. And he did. He killed a lion with his bare hands, then he killed a multi-headed fire-breathing hydra, and he went to the underworld and captured the gatekeeper of the underworld. This dude's a legend, and his core strength must have been insane. Now the story goes that he was never given his wish and granted godhood, but many people believe that the myth is wrong and this is just the story that was passed around. That the true story is that he was gifted his rightful god power and immortality. As long as he never told a soul, he would keep his godhood. I mean, you wouldn't want him to tell anyone because then there would be a bunch of people trying to kill stuff trying to become gods. Number 7. Sir Galahad. One of the most famous Knights of the Round Table. The original boys club. I bet they all met in a treehouse, you had to climb a rope ladder to get into it. You could only get in if you knew the secret password and there was a sign on the door that said no girls allowed. I might be mixing up King Arthur's knights with the Little Rascals. Anyways, Sir Galahad was the illegitimate son of Sir Lancelot and Elaine of Corbettic, and it said he is one of the people who has found the Holy Grail. Drinking from said grail is supposed to grant the person immortality. Now just like Merlin, Galahad is supposed to be one thing of legend, but some people believe that the knights did exist and are still in charge of secret underground cults to this day. If this is real, I would want footage of someone putting Galahad in one of Elon Musk's rockets and his face as he gets shot into space. Nothing like a 1,000-year-old man seeing what space looks like. Number 6. Conan O'Brien. Let's take a hard left turn out of myth and turn it to something that might be one of the strangest on the list. Late night TV show host Conan O'Brien. Why, you may ask? Well, it's because of this picture. This is a comparison picture between Conan and a Civil War soldier. They're eerily close to each other. Maybe Conan is closer to Wolverine than the hilarious ginger comic we have all come to know and love. What if all his jokes are just a way he can cover up his PTSD from fighting in centuries of wars? I mean, good for him. To go from war vet to American celebrity, that's a big jump that almost no one could do. Maybe back on the battlefield, no one thought he was funny, so he became immortal out of sheer willpower, just so he could stay alive long enough to find his audience. Number 5. James Bedford. If you're going to die, but you have faith that in the future they'll be able to bring you back to life, then why not throw your body into a giant freezer? James Bedford was the first person ever to be cryogenically frozen. He was an American psychology professor at the University of California and wanted his body to be preserved for later days, just in case they ever figured out a way to bring frozen people back from the dead so they could walk around again. If this was ever to happen, he would be first in line. He passed away in 1967, and right after he was pronounced legally dead, they threw him in a big chest freezer and set it to Ice Age. I'm sure it was more scientific than that, but you get the idea. Now, we haven't come across the technology to resurrect this guy, but if we do, he's gonna get the Captain America treatment and be very close to being immortal. Number 4. Hugh Glass. Have you ever seen The Revenant? The movie where Leonardo DiCaprio has the worst weekend ever? Well, in that movie, he plays frontiersman Hugh Glass. Now, Hugh Glass was mauled by a bear and left for dead and had to trek for miles and miles with broken bones and brutal wounds and survived. How did he do this? Well, the history books said he did this with grit, determination, and pure survivalist instincts. But the deep dark corners of the internet have other opinions. Some people are pushing the idea that he's an immortal or has some sort of Deadpool healing factor. This would allow him to survive such a brutal attack and make it back to full health. And if this is true, he might still be alive to this day, keeping his healing ability secret from the public. Number 3. Jack Lucas. One of the biggest bad all time. This guy literally might be unkillable. I don't want to trash talk him because I'm pretty sure he would find me and come beat the hell out of me. Jack Lucas fought in World War II, and while serving, he jumped on 2 Japanese grenades and survived both explosions. And not like barely even survived, he kept serving in the army. Maybe back then Japanese craftsmanship wasn't what it is now. After this he became a paratrooper, and on one of his jumps his chute didn't deploy. Now you think plummeting to the earth would surely just kill you. Not Jack Lucas. His buddies found him alive and well. This dude is probably like a werewolf or a robot or like a robot werewolf. Number 2. Roy Benavides. We're gonna stay on this trend of people who could beat up anyone's dad with Roy Benavides. Roy Benavides was a special forces officer. He stepped on a landmine in 1965 and he was told he would never walk again. And he was like, not only am I gonna walk again, I'm gonna go back and fight in war again. And he did. He fought in the Vietnam War. During one battle, he was leading a small troop and they were under attack by over 1,000 Vietnamese soldiers. By the time the fighting was done, he had been wounded by either gunfire, knives, or shrapnel 37 times. 37! He was pronounced dead and put in a body bag. Then, he came back to life and unzipped the body bag he was inside. Death probably looked at this guy and was like, nah, you're too much for me. We're trying to build a nice neighborhood over here. You stay alive. Number 1. TSUTOMU Yamaguchi. What's the worst week you've ever had? Whatever it is, I bet it's not as bad as this guy. TSUTOMU Yamaguchi was in Hiroshima in 1945 when the first atomic bomb dropped. He obviously survived. I mean, he's on our list of immortals. He did sustain some injuries. His skin was burned and one of his eardrums was ruptured. But for an atomic bomb dropping, that's like leaving relatively unscathed. So he was injured and he went home to Nagasaki. 3 days later, he was at work sharing his crazy story of how he saw the atomic bomb get dropped. And then, if you know your history, the second atomic bomb was dropped and the dude survived again. He took back-to-back atomic bomb bombings and walked away with an earache. This dude could very well be immortal or at least radiation proof. At number 10 we have Orlando Bloom. We'll kick off this list with a man who's so handsome it would probably make more sense if he actually was immortal. His cheekbones are so sharp he could cut wood with them, and then he would use that wood to build a nice romantic fire and then stare deep into your eyes. Only if dreams really did come true. Well, this heartthrob has been making more than hearts just throb for maybe over 100 years because he looks a lot like this Romanian painter. This guy is Nicolae Grigorescu, and the two of them have a striking resemblance. Maybe they just look similar. Maybe they were separated at birth. Well, the latter obviously isn't the case because all of you at home can tell how old this picture is. In fact, it's from 1877. So has Orlando been giving sweet dreams to all the girls since before he was chasing around Jack Sparrow and saving Middle Earth? I hope so. I never want those luscious locks and diamond jawline to go away. We need it. Number 9. Alex CHIU. Now there's no way of really proving you're immortal. It's something you would just have to trust someone on. And since no one has done it before, you can bet most people who say they aren't actually immortal. And this guy might be one of them. Alex CHIU is 48 years old and the dude says he's unlocked the secrets to immortality. He says he has done this through what he calls immortality rings. I feel like you guys all know where this is going, but I'm just gonna keep breaking down Alex CHIU's philosophy for you. So he claims he uses these rings to make his cells regenerate. So these rings basically turn you into Wolverine. Oh my god, why didn't I think of that? Or any of the other billions of people living on this earth. He made these so-called power rings by modernizing ancient Chinese medicine. And here's the best part that I know you've all been waiting for. You can buy these rings on Amazon. Yes, the power of eternal youth can be yours for just 6 easy payments of $49.99. Why wait on living forever when you can start right now? I think you can always tell when someone's trying to screw you over if they're trying to sell you something in the process. Number 8. Leonard Jones. You know, if you get the nickname Live Forever, you might be the guy who's actually figured out how to beat the Reaper. Either that or everyone around you is mocking you, like when they call a guy who's 4'11" big guy. Well, Leonard Jones was a politician back in the 1800s, and he had a lot of people convinced that he was immortal. He even ran for president on a campaign about being immortal, and he said he was going to make his voters immortal. That's a bold move, dude. Like, how do you plan on getting the young voters? Magic. He didn't end up becoming president, obviously, I think because his keys to becoming immortal were you were never allowed to be immoral. And that you had to pray a lot. I think that everyone was like, I would rather have sex and die than live my whole life a huge nerd. And it seems like he didn't follow his own rules because at age 70 he died. Or maybe he just tricked us and he's still alive somewhere, watching all of us have fun and party while he's not allowed to eat shellfish. Number 7. Betty Lou Oliver. I mean, we've all had bad days. Sometimes you wake up and everything starts going wrong. You go to make your coffee and you're out of coffee. You go to have a shower and the pipes froze. But nothing can match the level of trash Betty Lou Oliver went through. It was New York in July of 1945. There was a major fog that was covering the city, so all the planes that were flying through had to do so in terrible visibility. I'm pretty sure back then if you had to land a plane, you did it with luck and a wish from a genie. Well, one of these planes got lost in the fog and smashed into the Empire State Building. This killed 11 people and sent Betty Lou flying back, breaking a bunch of her bones, including her pelvis. Betty got put into the No Love Club. When police and paramedics arrived to rescue her, they had to take her down the elevator because she obviously couldn't walk with a broken pelvis. When they were going down, the elevator cord snapped and she fell 75 stories. And Betty Tough as Nails Oliver survived, while breaking the record for surviving the longest elevator fall. I mean, if she's not immortal, she's got at least 5 stars on durability, but just 1 star for luck. Number 6. Boris KIPRIYANOVICH. In the year 2000, there was a kid who started to get some big time fame because he told everyone that he was immortal. Not only that he was immortal, but that he came from Mars. We got a combo one here, a Martian that can live forever. And if you're wondering if he's got more crazy theories about himself, he does. Now that he's older, he claims that he used to take trips between here and Mars so he could do surveillance on the human race, and that other Martians do this too. We never see them because they live underground. Way to spill the beans, dude. If there are Martians underground, they're probably like, what the hell, man? Why are you blowing up my spot? Number 5. Roy C. Sullivan. This is another person on the list who has the worst luck imaginable. If you thought falling down an elevator shaft with a broken pelvis was unlucky, try getting struck by lightning 7 times. Roy C. Sullivan has the record for the most times struck by lightning, and it never took him out. He got burned a few times but never died. He's probably carrying around an amulet of Zord, which gives you +7 to lightning resistance. He shot himself in 1993, but that might have been him faking his own death because people were starting to catch on that this guy can't be killed. Number 4. The Wandering Jewish Man. This is a perfect case of knowing when to shut your mouth. The story of the Wandering Jewish Man is that he had front row tickets to the crucifixion, and as Jesus was passing him with the cross, he told him to pick up the pace. So Jesus did the sly move of putting a curse on him so he would walk the earth until Jesus returned for the second coming. Bad move, dude. If this story is real, I bet this guy probably has a podcast where he talks about what the Jets need to do to win a Super Bowl, even though he's never played football a day in his life. This guy probably has never learned. Number 3. Gene Roddenberry. All of you Star Trek nerds out there know this guy. He's the creator of Star Trek. He made one of the greatest franchises of all time for keeping the antisocial entertained. Well, what you might not know about this legend is he survived 3 plane crashes. This dude did Unbreakable before Bruce Willis had his first headshots. And these weren't simple little crashes. A bunch of other people died in these crashes. Gene may just be immortal, and that's why he survived. One of these planes was even on fire before it went down and then smashed right into a desert. They say he died from a heart attack, but I wouldn't be surprised if the aliens came down to give him some ideas for a new run of Star Trek, and then they all became good buds and he just decided to take off with them. I mean, if he is immortal. Number 2 on the list, the Immortal Monk. In 1926, the Buddhists had a big time stress. They're all trying to chill out and become enlightened and stuff, and then Stalin made the call to kill all these dudes. How are you gonna kill a bunch of Buddhist monks, dude? All they want to do is sit cross-legged and not get bothered by YouTube ads. Well, the leader of this tribe of monks told his followers to go into hiding while he went into a deep meditation. He said he would come out in 75 years, and this guy was meditating to win. He was buried in the lotus position and then and 75 years later he was dug up and he was dead. However, his body was in pristine condition for how long it had been buried. It was like McDonald's used the same stuff they used to keep their food preserved, they used on this monk so he wouldn't rot away. The monks from his village believe that he's in such good condition because he's still in a meditative state, and he will return when he's ready to break from living in nirvana. If I was him, I would wait till after we fix global warming. Number 1 on the list is Qin Shi Huang. This guy was the emperor of China, and his dynasty lasted over 400 years. He was a huge hit with the people too. They were so in love with him that they thought he was a god and he was destined to live forever and rule over them forever. He humored his followers by sending out people to try and find all sorts of fountains of youth. I want people to like me so much. I want them to want me to live forever and me to be their king forever. It must be so good for your self-esteem. What ended up happening was he poisoned himself with mercury. Back then they thought the cool liquid metal could make you live forever, but it just makes you go crazy and then you die. Or did it work and now he's part of the shadow government that runs the world? Really, either or is possible. At number 10 we have ASHWATHAMA. An invincible warrior from Indian mythology. This guy is a tank who could take on entire armies single-handedly. This guy is a cross between Thor and Kratos. This dude is unstoppable. He's fought in several battles and was never killed. He's said to have mastered over 64 different forms of martial arts and possesses a great intellect of all weaponry. This could have just been a myth passed down from generation to generation, but many myths are rooted in a little bit of truth, like the myth of the werewolf was most likely based on rabies. Some people believe that ASHWATHAMA was an actual warrior who never died in battle because of his great skill, but also because he could never be killed. This juggernaut would be hanging out in the shadows waiting for someone to try and put the pressure on India, and if they did make this brutal mistake, he would spring into action and remind everyone why this legend has never died. At number 9 we have Methuselah. If there was anyone believed to be immortal from the Bible, it was this dude. Methuselah was the grandfather of Noah who built the famous ark. Well, Noah built the ark, not this guy, don't get confused in my language. There is nobody in the Old Testament that matches this guy when it comes to being an old geezer. This guy holds the record for the oldest guy in the book, unless you count God, but that's kind of cheating. I mean, he's been there since the beginning. And this guy really lived his life to the fullest. He didn't even have kids until he was 187. I can imagine all the girls had the talk with him along the way. He was like, baby, I'm not ready to settle down. I'm only 108. I got my whole life ahead of me. The Old Testament says he lived until he was 969, which is a bummer. He was so close to 1000. That would have been an amazing party. But it wasn't old age that killed the original millennial, but it was the great flood brought down by God Almighty. But what if this guy was a really good swimmer and he was able to outlast the flood? I mean, he was able to outlast the aging process, so I could believe he could tread water for a very long time. At number 8 we have Jesus. Let's keep on the Bible theme with the guy who is the Son of God. I mean, I think he's the Son of God. I never went to church. Please don't get mad at me if I got this wrong. I don't know how it works. It said there'll be a second coming of Christ, and even if there isn't, he was able to endure a lot. Even 7 days hanging on a crucifix, people checking his pulse confirming he's dead, and then him being locked up in a tomb for 3 days, Jesus just bounced back like me after 2 espressos. So I think it's safe to say that Jesus is immortal. But this is a list of scary things, and Jesus is maybe the nicest person that has ever lived. He is literally the symbol of kindness. So why would I put him on here? Well, there are some people that believe the second coming of Christ will also bring rapture, the end of days, fire raining down from the sky and ruining my favorite burrito stand. If Jesus is in fact alive and waiting for the right opportunity to come back, then there might be a whole bunch of other stuff in the Bible that could come true, which is a very spooky future. At number 7 we have Qin Shi Huang. This dude is one of the most legendary figures in Chinese history. The Qin dynasty helped shape China and really built the foundation of the China we knew for centuries to come. You know the Great Wall of China? That was this guy. You know the Terracotta Army? That was also this guy. You know panda bears? Well, that wasn't him. Panda bears, like, they naturally, however, happened. I don't know. But if he had the opportunity to make a cuddly new mascot for the face of China, he totally would have. He was so loved by his people that they believed him to be immortal, and they even sent out servants all over the globe to try and find the secret of eternal life for him. Unfortunately, all the men he sent out were unsuccessful. Big surprise. And Big Papa Quinn died in 210 BC. Or did he? Some people think that his servants were successful in finding the key to eternal life. They brought it back to him, he used it, but he understood it was too powerful for just any man to get his hands on, so he had to hide the elixir, faked his own death, and has been running China in the shadows ever since. Whoa. At number 6 we have Tithonus. This one is pulled right out of Greek mythology and sticks to the theme of classic Greek myths by being depressing and ill-omened. Tithonus was one of the princes of Troy, one of the most noble houses in all of Greece. He caught the eye of Eos, the goddess of dawn, and even though Tithonus was just a mortal, she wanted a piece of that guy. I mean, it makes sense, this guy was basically a prince from ancient Greece. I bet he had abs you could break a brick on and a face carved out of marble. Well, the two fell in love, and Eos being a god, she would live forever. She wanted her lover Tithonus to live forever with her, so she begged Zeus to grant him eternal life, which he did. But Eos made a grave mistake. She only asked Zeus to grant him eternal life, not eternal youth. Zeus is so petty. So Tithonus could not die, but he was aging brutally. Eventually he was a vegetable and Eos turned him into a cicada for some reason. So if you ever see a cicada that you just can't kill, it might be Tithonus who is just bummed out because he got the bad end of a really bad deal. At number 5 we have VLAD the Impaler, the ancient king of what is now Romania. This man is known to be one of the most brutal men who has ever existed. He was born in 1428 and died in 1477, and in that time he maimed, tortured, and displayed so many bodies he got the nickname VLAD the Impaler. But why is he on this list if he's dead? Or is he dead? The legend of Dracula comes from this guy. It was due to his brutality, but what if he was actually the Dark Lord? He might be roaming around sucking people's blood all throughout Europe. Doesn't it make it easier to sleep at night knowing vampires might be real? At number 4 we have Diane de Poitiers. Back in the day, people didn't really know a lot about science. They would usually just put shiny stuff on things and hope for the best. Like when people used to put mercury on the top of top hats to make them shiny, and then people went crazy from mercury poisoning. We have a similar case with Diane de Poitiers, who was a mistress of King Henry II. She would drink a gold elixir to try and keep herself young. She died at the age of 66, and her autopsy showed that she had chronic gold poisoning. But what if she didn't die? She was known for her youthful beauty. That was probably the main reason that King Henry had her as one of his mistresses. And after she died, she was casted out from the kingdom because she was constantly seducing the king. That makes sense. But what if that was all a cover-up? Follow me down the conspiracy road for just a moment. What if her elixir worked and she shared it with King Henry? He then faked his death and was able to escape the public eye. After that, Diane de Poitiers exiled herself to be with her now new lover, and they're both in the Illuminati. Sounds pretty airtight if you ask me. At number 3 we have Leonard Jones. I love Leonard Jones because I can always appreciate a good con man. This guy was born in 1797 and had the dreams of becoming a great politician. But he didn't do that through a campaign of more jobs and tax breaks. Oh no no no. His campaign platform was vote for me and I'll make you immortal. A very ballsy move if you ask me. But it worked. He was never able to become president of the United States, but he was able to become a strong contender. To be honest, if someone had this as their platform, I would be pretty on board. Who needs a president to offer a better living situation for the modern family when this guy is saying you can live forever? That's a way better deal. At number 2 we have the 3 Nephites. Before Jesus moved on from us as we knew him in flesh and blood, he chose 12 apostles. 3 of them chose to stay behind with mankind to help make sure we stayed on track. They were called the 3 Nephites. Since then there have been stories of kind strangers guiding kings and stopping violence all throughout history. After these mystery men help out, they disappear, never to be seen again. This could be the Nephites hiding from us, waiting for the right moment to help. At least one of them probably works for WikiLeaks right now. And for our number 1 spot we have Charles Edouard Brown Séquard. Alright, for the number 1 spot we have a man who, like many of the other people on this list, thought he discovered the fountain of youth. The reason I put him at number 1 is because of the ingredients he used, and he was actually a very respected scientist for his time. Charles lived throughout the 17th century and was known for his extensive studies about the human brain, but his reputation would be tarnished when he went public with what he thought was the fountain of youth. He concocted a serum that he claimed could help a person live forever, and the main ingredient was guinea pig testicles. He was so confident in his discovery that he started giving it out for free. He's now of course dead, but the scary part about this is what if he was right? What if guinea pig testicles hold the answer to everlasting youth? I mean, it wouldn't really be scary for us, but it would be so scary for guinea pigs.